when do we get a camera? You see what I see?
What camera?
What do you mean, what camera? It's right there.
What the fuck are you talking about?
This isn't like some Comstar crap, is it? No, wait. If I'm seeing a camera, it's definitely not Comstar. This has to be Clan Watch. Well, and anyway, yeah.
Did COVID hit you really hard, man?
Yeah, COVID kind of did. Welcome to the Memory Core episode. We're too lazy to look it up.
Hey, so yeah, how about this? We figured we'd up it a notch for 2022. So you actually get to see us,
Coffee
bitch
and all.
about Catalyst in person and complain about BattleTech.
Yeah, to bitching about Catalyst in person.
Yeah. I think it was like the last episode when we did the Battle Value one, especially dealing with sound quality issues. I thought, okay, this ended up to get rid of a lot of the background noise and to do a lot of stuff we did. It ended up being a real downer in terms of the audio quality. So what can we do to fix this? What can we do to make this better? And what can we do to make it more visually interesting? So this is really just like a test episode. Like, how does this work? What can we do to get to a better format? And I think I was watching, let's see a link, the Trapped Under Plastic podcast, Ninjon and Miniac. Really two really fantastic miniature painters, and I really like that format, and I thought, like, that's something that we can kind of use.
Yeah, we can get drunk and paint miniatures. And
Those are really good episodes. Drunk miniature painting.
I mean, I don't know if that would make my quality any worse, but hey, why not?
Yeah. So yeah, we figured we'd try a video format. I mean, we can easily release an audio
And no worries,
format.
I'm still gonna upload like a podcast format of this. I mean, it's not like it's hard to just convert it to audio. So
Right.
there will still be our podcast element to this.
Yeah. And one of the things that, and I'm still not quite certain or sure what the reason is for it, but a lot of these digital cameras have like a half hour, 20 to 30 minute recording limit, depending on the video size. And the memory card can take like 6 hours of video. So what's the reason? And I think there's concerns of like overheating on the equipment. And there's ways that you can hack the firmware to get around that.
Yeah, or we didn't read the instructions.
Well, no, I mean, they all pretty much say, but yeah, we're gonna see how it works out, which means this might be a tight, fast video. Maybe. But yeah, we're in the dining room. So yeah, but yeah, what's been new on your end?
What has been new on my end? Omicron, baby. That was fun. I was out for, I'd say, maybe a week total.
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
not bad. At least you get to pretty fast.
Yeah, we would have done this a lot earlier, but
Yeah, because there were things that we kind of wanted to talk about. And if you guys can see, big old Hero Quest box set.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that really briefly, and then we got a stack.
I know. It's amazing. If any suggestions on what else we should have in here to look like BattleTech podcasters, let us know.
But yeah, I'm glad you kicked COVID pretty soon without too much trouble. So that's good, man. Because
You can definitely hear it.
yeah. Those vaccines, thankfully meant that no one was really
Everything
too
at
out.
like quarter strength, so it's like I only lost my taste and smell for a little bit. I could actually eat salted food and not be the salty person that I usually am.
It's very
So,
salty.
Yeah, very salty.
Like a saltine, man.
Yeah. Speaking of salt, battle value.
Before we get to that, really quick, I saw the Tucked. Well, you mentioned Tucked Davian did it. I didn't actually see it, but you mentioned it.
Yeah.
But I grew up with Hero Quest, and I've gotten multiple copies of the game, the original game. And actually, when I was over in vet school in Edinburgh, I grabbed a UK copy of the game, which is it's a bit different than the American release. Actually, it's easier than the American release.
Oh wow.
But when Hasbro announced they were bringing Hero Quest back, and actually published by Avalon Hill, which gets into a whole lot of board game history, which we will spare you guys, I was really stoked about it, so I backed it right away. and it finally arrived, and I'm really stoked. I'm not as big of a fan of the miniature design because I really like the old sword and sorcery look. But it's fun, it's cool. I don't have to worry about breaking any more polystyrene miniatures.
Yeah, that's a plus.
And I'm looking forward to, at some point, breaking this out and playing it, because if you guys out there in the world haven't played or heard of Hero Quest, it's goddamn awesome. And I wish I knew the name of the channel off the top of my head of the guy who's like, Hero Quest is the best game ever made.
Yeah, I'm sure with that impression, everyone knows now. But yeah, Tuck actually did a really good video on the unboxing. It's worth seeing. I just haven't watched his follow-up where he actually painted everything.
Yeah. The
And, you know, like Tuck is actually a really like decent painter. So
it's clear that the people who made it had a lot of love for the original, and they went full out to try and capture the original cover art by Les Edwards, and it's not as good. It's still a really excellent box art, but it's just something about the way that Les did it with his style just captures that, like, fuck, we gotta go play Dungeons and Dragons right now, or I gotta go watch Conan the Barbarian. So yeah, there's something about that 70s and 80s style of art that was really fantastic about the original Hero Quest. But it's very clear that the guys who made this really loved the original artwork and did a lot to ape it, especially with the various cards that come here. So yeah, that's enough Hero Quest. Wanted to talk about that really quick.
yeah, it was a game that I heard about but never actually played.
Well, hopefully we will, man.
Oh, we're gonna change that.
Yeah, we did play a game not too long ago.
Yeah,
Battletech.
since recording, we did like 2 games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had that video on battle value and discussing that, and so
Yeah.
there's always that person who comes out and be like, well, I don't see why we have to balance it with battle value. What if they use tonnage?
Yeah.
What if they use C bills?
Every other post too, like, what mech do I use to balance out my force, Adam?
Yeah, and it's,
Well, not to you specifically,
Yeah.
but you know it's to you specifically.
Yes. So we played a game balanced by both C bills and tonnage.
And we did. We tried to stick to formation sizes too.
Well, I was talking more about the Charger versus 2 Wolfhounds.
Oh, that one.
Yep. Which
That
was
was a good
balanced
one.
by battle. Which was not balanced by battle value, but was balanced by tonnage and C bills.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, we did give the Charger pilot a 0-0 status. And because there's always that guy who says, "Oh, well, why don't we just balance by tonnage?"
Uh-huh.
And for those of you who don't know, because C bills are so directly tied to the cost of the chassis and the cost of the engine, C bills are not an accurate way to balance the game.
Definitely not.
No, and so the Charger got spanked by the 2 Wolfhounds,
Yeah.
even though the Charger cost more and weighed more than the 2 Wolfhounds put together.
You would think having a 0 pilot would benefit that too, but there's this thing called, moving around that you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's by using BB standard games, there's definitely room for a Charger in a Lance, because
You could definitely see with the way they were moving around on that board, which is why I think we should do live board games sometimes.
Yeah.
The way that Charger was actually moving, and the way the boards that we did pick, the 0 pilot did not come into play. I think the one time I was actually able to pull something off, I missed. It blew my mind. But hey, everybody, like the Wolfhound, it's a fast mech. It's not a slouch.
Right. Well, because the Charger's so relatively cheap by battle value, if you were to stick him in a Lance, you could make a tactic where the Lance mates cover the Charger so that he's not being flanked, because physical attacks are so powerful in this game.
Yeah, that kick, and we were watching it too, because a lot of those small laser hits were finding the legs like it knew.
Yeah. One kick to that damaged Wolfhound would have wrecked it.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's really important to understand that battle value is really an effective way of balancing the game. And so you guys cannot see because it might be out of camera shot right now, but here we've got quick history the Battle Tactical Handbook, which is when they discussed combat value, one of the first real attempts at balancing the game. And combat value ran into the same problem where it was too heavily based on tonnage. And so you would get like a rifleman had a higher combat value than a clan Goshawk.
Yeah.
And we know who wins that fight. It's not the rifleman.
No, definitely not.
And then we had BB, which came out in this era of the rule set, and I believe at the back of Maximum Tech they had included, the battle values for all the mechs that were released at the time, which was really nice. And then they realized, battle value was an improvement over combat value, but wasn't
there yet.
So that's when we get BB2, where we're at with the current rule set. Also, hey, good callback to Tactical Handbook. So I like these retro, cover arts. I know some people want the new stuff, but hey, man, when it's good art, it's good art.
That's almost. I mean, you can almost say the Tactical Handbook cover is one of the iconic, pieces of art for BattleTech.
Yeah.
That Hatchet Man on it.
Yeah, with the I'm not sure which one this. I want to say this is a Crusader in the background.
It looks like it,
but you can't quite see it. And then an Atlas tucked off to the side, and then you have the mobile headquarters, the J-27, the Swiftwind scout car. So yeah, it's
there's a lot going on. It's not just the mech.
Yeah.
There's a story going on.
So we're to the point where we're at Battle Value 2, and it's pretty effective at balancing games. So we did the 6,000 BV versus 6,000 BV.
Yeah, and that one was really fun too.
Yeah, and that seemed to be, we were maybe like 100 battle value points apart, maybe a little bit more.
But it was so close.
It was really tight, and there were a couple of die rolls that could have gone one way or the other that would have changed things. But
yeah, because I was rolling really hot that game.
Yeah,
it really was.
Yeah,
and
because it's one of those things like it would be bad for a bit, and then suddenly you get like a streak. But it was nice to see. One, we took 2 different lances, 2 different sets of tactics, and I had an Orion Enforcer, a Wasp. Man, what was the other one that I took?
Yeah, I don't.
I took 2 mediums. Was it a Centurion?
Enforcer? You said Enforcer.
You said Enforcer. There was another one that I had taken. I forget which one it was now.
Yeah, because we had some team players. I had a mix of I had the Warhammer was my main one, but I also too.
You took an Oscout, a Catapult, and a Wolverine.
Yeah, my Oscout that was demoralizing too.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the things is I played with Dan enough that I kind of know his tactics, and I kind of figured he was going to take more light mechs than he did. But I figured I will make sure I take a light mech like a Wasp to sort of screen the back end to make sure that my guys are protected, because I know Dan, he's going to be a backstabbing asshole. Because it works. And when I saw him take that Oscar, I knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
And I made sure the Wasp was running interference. And so while the Wasp didn't actually damage the Oscout, it definitely prevented the Oscout from getting in an advantageous position. And there was one moment when you broke through until my Enforcer said no.
Yeah, I almost had that kick. I freaking whiffed it, man.
Yeah.
It was so demoralizing. But the beautiful thing was, in an Oscout, I was able to take a low pilot.
Yeah.
So, I missed the kick, but I was still able to...
Well, there's definitely a point. Like, do you make these decisions? Do you take the Charger? Do you take the Oscout? These are not mechs that have a lot of guns. But then do you take that BB and put it into a pilot that can really connect with some nasty physical attacks?
Yeah. I for one, even when we balance by BB, even just based off of what I chose, you can see, I do prefer having, my fast guys with it. Now, they don't need good gunnery for me, the way I usually use them.
Yeah.
Because even an assassin, as much black.
Because even with a good gunner, he still can't hit anything.
Yeah, I know. Hot dice, right? But no, in reality, those overweight kind of mechs, the assassin and Clint, they really shine when you do put good pilots in them.
Yeah.
Because people take for granted the higher you are in your weight class and the faster you are, the more damage you're going to do on charge attacks, and you'll have, even if they're faster, you have a better chance to do kick attacks and that, which is what I tried for that Ost.
Yeah.
Because that's the only real logical way to use it in that.
Right.
Yeah,
there's definitely because of the meta and because if you're using battle value to balance out the lances and battle value, or I should be more specific, say battle value 2 is so good, you can look at mechs that previously people would have looked at and said, oh, that's not viable, or I wouldn't want to use that, that's a terrible mech, which means you're using a Hermes 2, which gets a lot of flack, but you're able to use it to run interference against other light mechs. You're taking a charger and you're using it to bully your way through, medium mechs that have a higher battle value. But if you can make that, if you can close with them, you can really give them a hard time.
I was tempted to pull a charger for that game too. I was trying to find a nice way to use it, but and I was like, he'll kind of expect that from me. But it really showed, like, is battle value like all the way where it needs to be? Kind of. It was an even game, I'll give it that.
I think there was some talk about a battle value 3, but I think it's dead in the water.
Yeah, it's going to take too much work that I don't think the people in charge really want to do, considering all of the recognition guides we've gotten recently.
It'd be a lot of math.
I think the only major release we're getting soon would be Tamar Rising, but even that's like...
It's more of a storybook.
Yeah. Just to go on my point about would battle value be on the table, I sincerely doubt it.
Right. But
it would end a lot of those conversations, which I was going to say this before we moved on. Every person asks that question, how do I round out my lance? What mech do I use? And battle value would almost entirely eliminate
those questions.
Yeah. And at least like the majority of them, because you do get your guy once in a while, like, hey, I'm trying to make this BV constrictive lance, and I would like to know, like, what combinations do you guys like to use? Which those are entirely different conversations than, I have 4 king crabs. I need another lance. What do I use, guys?
What do you think my Comstar for us? It is a shame because it would solve so many headaches for new players. And one of the nice things about BattleTech is because you're only taking 4 or 5 mechs, maybe 6 mechs at a go. It's really easy to try different combinations, and if it doesn't work, you can just say, okay, I'm going to swap that guy out, and I'm going to put this other mech in because it suits my playstyle more.
BattleTech feels more like you're building an RPG party.
It's definitely it's personal. It becomes personal for you because there's enough variety that no one's going to play the same thing.
You don't want to just run into a battle with all fighters. It's just what most people are doing in BattleTech right now.
And it's frustrating because we don't really have any guidance from Catalyst, and before them FanPro and before them FOSSA on the matter, and it feels like it's an easy step to make the game more accessible, and it's just not happening.
It'd be a good con seller, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, looking at what, because people had asked, what's a good battle value? What do we think is good battle values? And I had taken all the stock chassis in 3039 and ran them through and averaged them out by weight class. And if you take sort of the traditional concept of what a lance was in Succession Wars, where it's a light mech, 2 mediums, and a heavy, if you leave enough BV for skill improvements, because you even just upgrading the pilot from a regular to a veteran is like a 32% cost. 6,000 BV for people playing that level 1, which is a term that's not really used anymore, but intro tech, Succession Wars,
the good old days.
Like the Game of Armor Combat box. 6,000 BV seems pretty consistent. It seems like it's a good, comfortable.
That number pops up a lot.
8,000 battle value seems to be good if you want to field a lance. It's more advanced, like tech advanced. Or an agnostic, tech agnostic, play style where you just want to pull from your collection, and you're pulling something from the Succession Wars, or you're pulling something from the Dark Age, you're pulling something from the FedCom Civil War. Doesn't fucking matter.
Probably leaves a lot less math for the clan guys too.
Yeah, well, and here's the other thing though, is that like a clan star, doing the math for a clan star,
it's like 12,000 BV.
Well, that's the thing too, is if you look at it, and this is where it gets complicated. Like, do you do 3 different tiers? And that's fine, because there's enough that you can maybe pull together. Having 3 different tiers of mechs or forces wouldn't be that big of a problem, but it does make you think, how do you balance it? And if you get a clan star from one of these new box sets, you're looking at 10 to 11,000 BV up the gate. And bear in mind that according to the lore, the clan pilots are one step up better based on regulars and veterans and stuff like that. So a comfortable spot for the clans, if you want to field a star, maybe 15 to 16,000 battle value.
It's rough.
Which, I mean, what does that mean though? That maybe means if you're doing clan versus inner sphere, maybe you can do 1 star versus a company.
See, what's kind of weird to me is with the clan's bidding system, it's almost like, yeah, you want to do formation building, but I feel like there should be some general rule that if somebody was bringing a Lance 2 to table, the clans would typically field like maybe 2 or 3 units.
Right.
You know?
And then that could be the case where if you got a Lance of 6,000 BV and the clan player wants to take 2 mechs, that could maybe make that work.
Yeah, and reading, because I know, spoilers, we're reading through Wars of Reaving, so that's going to be on the table real soon. But going through that, didn't they use a 3-point system for units?
There was the society did, the sets and the trays.
I always thought the clans would have done more of a 3-point system, in all honesty, because that kind of goes with their bidding system to do it that low.
Well, yeah, that comes up in the Somerset Strikers animated series.
It sure does.
Yeah. But yeah, that's something that I kind of wanted to talk about because we talk about like tournaments. And actually, you know what? This might be a good place to pause really quick. Let me check the timer. We have to get used to the timing system and figure out how to make this work so we don't blow past our recording limit. So you guys hang tight.
Hang on. Dun dun dun.
Turn it back.
Oh, insert advertisement here. We're professionals.
But yeah, so you know, it's now that we're back, it's been a hot minute since I mentioned Killer Instinct or any fighting games on this podcast.
Yeah, I've been thinking about bringing StarCraft in more often because that's something I understand.
That's your bag.
Yeah.
But you know, for me, especially with the holidays and like Omicron and just COVID and like weather sucks. Like, what am I gonna do? Well, I'm gonna sit at home and just kind of veg out on YouTube and. You know, the algorithm kicks in and it sends me a bunch of stuff that I've seen before, and it took me to a bunch of old fighting game tournaments that were put on Twitch or whatever, and then shared up, it'll upload it to YouTube. And I was remembering like how hype it was to sit back and like watch those and like biting my nails in anticipation of what's going to happen. Is this character that I like, this fighting game player, maybe even uses a character that I like, is playing against someone who's using a character I hate to fight against, like. Who's going to win this? And realizing how hyped those matches were and how the tournaments bring people into the game. And even if someone doesn't want to go to a tournament, they watch that and they think, I want to fucking play that. I want to play that game. I'm going to get that downloaded right now.
Now it's all on Twitch, but I remember back in my failed college days, in DeVry, like they actually had this stuff on TV. Yeah. Like people were playing Unreal Tournament live, and it was incredible. And that's what got us to want to play Unreal Tournament in 2004.
It speaks so much to the fact that you have to have a community to do that. Although there's the tournaments help build the community. Like what comes first, and it's probably a little bit of both sort of support each other.
Yeah, I really think they do. I think it's really important to have like a defined set of rules, because like
and having the standard battle to value game helps get to tournaments. They sort of play off of each other a little bit, so it's good to encourage that.
Yeah, I know the Blood Name tournament was always a big one.
Mm-hmm.
That
and Gen Con.
Yeah, that was always a big one. But again, like it's a tournament. Like it's a defined set of rules that everybody has to follow to play it.
Yeah.
Everyone picks a certain mech that they want. Someone would bring an urban mech just because it's funny.
Yeah.
And why not?
Yeah. If you're good at the game, you can make it work.
That's how it. Why shouldn't there be something to follow?
Right.
So we could just do pickup games. You know.
Well, and there's a lot to be said too, because going back a little bit to the fighting game tournaments, Killer Instinct, is my favorite, and a lot of people do still think very highly of it. And I think it's really funny because Killer Instinct came out, I think, sort of at the tail end of. Well, maybe is it at the tail end of that generation of fighting games that came before, or at the very beginning of the current generation of fighting games? But, Killer Instinct has been continuously well regarded, and you compare that to games like Mortal Kombat 11, which people didn't really like the pacing of, and a lot of people really didn't like Street Fighter V. But because Street Fighter V had the tournament support from Capcom and Sony, a lot of people that didn't want to keep playing that game stuck with it because of it was lucrative for them as professional players. They would much rather have stuck with Street Fighter 4, but Street Fighter 4 basically dies when Street Fighter V comes out.
Yeah.
And so even like an okay game, if it has good tournament support, will generate more interest and people will want to play it.
I think a good way to look at it is like there's a different experience between, and to get into my side with,
StarCraft.
Real-time strategy, StarCraft Brood War.
Yeah.
There is a difference between playing on the ladder, hello Artosis, playing on the ladder than there is like actually playing at a tournament. Because a tournament is more about like what you can do. Like there's some cheese in there. But there's things that you have to be good at. Like you can't be a one-trick pony in a tournament.
Yeah.
Which is why fighting games are another like really good example of that too. But there's a different experience playing on the ladder where you're just playing against a bunch of one-trick ponies and you can't get good, because it's rough, or like any online experience like that.
Yeah.
Then going to, like in our case, like if we put this back in the BattleTech, going to a Gen Con with a bunch of passionate fans that want to play, and show what they can do in a restrictive battle value tournament.
Yeah. Well, and every other game has a way to create forces and balance them. And obviously, this is not a proposal to supplant the more free-form storytelling. This is not a proposal to say you have to play the game like this.
Yeah.
But it seems really weird that there's not this framework that is available. That there's not this framework to let people understand how to play the game. And
well, the other thing too is like take into account like even how like chess has been around for so long. Like you have grandmasters, all of that, and it's still exciting to watch chess. I'm weird. I'm just gonna look down. I'll probably zoom in on that. But even then, like if you look at like if you want to compare BattleTech to chess. There are things that are recommended in BattleTech to use, like movement dice and that, which would be kind of like in chess where they're like, well, you should have time limits between moves. You should have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those kind of things should be in there.
Yeah, right.
Even time limits for moves in BattleTech, because could you imagine if everybody was like, now with like the tablet thing they have coming out where they can like min-max their numbers that they're going to make, like it's just sitting there the whole time while someone figures out a good move.
Yeah.
Whereas like there's even more tension in the game if like you have to make a move really fast. Well, like which is like what we were kind of doing.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for the more you play the game, the better you're going to get at it, and the better you're able to make the game approachable and playable, the more experience you're going to have. And some of that may be having the BV thing, like some sort of tournament type or official force building rules, using battle value. I think another big thing too is that for people when they do put on tournaments, and one of the guys at the forum has mentioned this when he's held things, is having a time limit. And so we played that 6,000 BV game over the course of about 2 hours. And granted, we didn't finish, although we were kind of just about to the point where some mechs were really going to fall apart.
Yeah, well, we're at the status in how long we've been playing the game, or even just like reading about the game or watching, whatever have you. where we can see what's on the board and kind of play out like in chess, like moves ahead and be like, yeah, like it's going to be close. We might as well just call it here.
Well,
which is almost like forced withdrawal.
Well, and it was like 10:30 at night, and we had work the next day.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even if it wasn't that late, like we could probably look at it. And
figure out how things are going to work out. Like,
do you want to play it out?
Like a hot die roll. Sometimes it is fun to play it out. Like,
just to see.
You have to suffer. But if you're playing in a tournament, knowing that BattleTech is a longer game, like what do you do to speed up the game? And part of that may be forced withdrawal rules. Part of that may be time limits.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't take into account too is I think because BattleTech hasn't really been in the open a lot, we all have this kind of. It seems like Mega Mech is almost more popular to play sometimes.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people in like Mega Mech boards that talk about it. But it's like sometimes getting the highest modifier isn't necessarily like the best thing. So like you can, there are things you can do, like stand still.
Oh, yeah, movement modifiers, yeah.
You can stand still sometimes, guys. It's fine. Sometimes it works. But, higher modifiers do drag the game on, too. Mm-hmm. But, there were a lot of occurrences in our game where, we weren't necessarily all about the highest modifier we can get.
Well, it definitely depends. One, you do a cost-benefit ratio is, okay, if I move, if I run, and I generate a +2 modifier, but maybe I go from medium range to short range, is that a benefit? Or if I just stand still, is that more of a benefit? And that's part of what comes with experience and learning how to play the game. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we still don't have a way to go from place to place, like, we play a game, right, and say, the pandemic finally ends and there's a game store that we can go to that we can play at, and then we're going to be traveling out of state or out of town for a week, and we know we're going to be in an area where maybe there's a game store. Mm-hmm. Can we just show up and play a game with what we've got? Like, can I take a ChessX box and throw a couple miniatures in there that I know is a force that I'm comfortable with using? Can I just go to the next town over and play a game? And just show up and play.
Even bring your own stuff.
You could do that with everything else, like Warhammer, Flames of War, Bolt Action, X-Wing, Malifaux, Infinity. You can do that with pretty much every other game out there. You can't do it with BattleTech, and it's really, really weird. It's really, really weird. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's dumb, and I hate it.
It's really dumb. It's very dumb.
And the game that I want to play, the game that I want to spend months, years playing is the Merc campaign, where my force builds organically, and there's a GM that just knows how to craft forces that counters what I've got in a fair way, and then maybe there's dramatic storytelling events. Yeah, that's fun. Play the Merc campaign, you discover a Starleague cache, you're scrounging for parts, your freaking large laser's not working right. Awesome. Plot me in that universe. That's the game I really want to play. But when it comes to either going whole hog and complete immersion in the environment or not playing, I would rather just play the game and just have my standard lance and be able to go places and show up and throw some dice.
It's good to have a mix. Yeah. That's where I stand with it. Because I'm the same way, man. Those campaigns like that, that's really where BattleTech to me shines. Yeah. But it could shine in a tournament, but we don't have those rules.
Right.
We just don't.
And if having a standard BB, like the 6,000, 8,000, or like 15, 16,000 for the clans, and granted, BattleTech is not. If you want larger unit formations, you need Alpha Strike. If you want to do BattleTech, you're looking at Lance v Lance, Star v Star, maybe 8v5, something like that. To get there, to make it happen, you need something solid, something where everyone's on the same page. And I still don't understand why. And it's like, people are so excited about the Kickstarter for a lot of reasons, and there are a lot of things that I've enjoyed getting out of that Kickstarter, particularly the new maps.
Yeah,
But,
really good.
For those of you who have come into the game, or were in it, left, and came back, I mean, there was like 20 goddamn years without new maps, and you had to buy the PDFs on Battlecore if you even knew to look there, and then go to someplace and get them printed out. It was not
some places didn't even want to print them out. You know, even though they had the copyright thing in there that said you could.
Yeah.
There were, I mean, I remember some conversations coming up where people are like, FedEx doesn't want to like print this for us.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And it's going to be on poster stock basically because it's so big. There wasn't the stuff available to actually play the game, unless you want to get the miniatures Fire Emblem Metals, because that was the only company that produced something consistently for you. Yeah, you couldn't get the box set, you couldn't get the maps. Yeah, okay, we got the box set now, we've got the maps, barring the shipping snafu that's happening because of the pandemic right now.
Yeah.
But now we have all these things. How do you play the game regularly with people, and even with just with strangers? You know, how do you grow a community if you don't have something to latch onto? That's frustrating. Yeah.
It's bad. Come on, Catalyst.
And it's simple. It's
Come
simple.
on. You guys are so big on PDFs right now. Just make a PDF.
Oh yeah. They got loads of stuff on the website to download, like errata, record sheets. Yeah, like a whole bunch of stuff that you can just grab, and you can put up on master unit lists as well. There's a lot of places you can put this information that can help make the game more approachable. You know, so it can stop the endless questions of what mech do I use. And the thing about battle value is you can do what the heck you want. If you want to do a force specific or a faction specific lance, cool. If you want to do a mishmash, cool. If you want to be the dude who's got your merc unit that has an executioner and a timberwolf in it,
Go for it.
go for it. I mean, it's not really accurate, but whatever, man. If you want to be that weird dude who wants to make Clan J Falcon lambs, you're weird, but you can do it.
Yeah. You want to bring your Steiner Scout Lance meme? Go for it. Go ahead.
You just had to.
I had to. It bothers me so much, man. I'm not even a Steiner fan, and it bothers me so much.
It's really old. It's really old. You should just stop. That joke needs to fucking die now.
But it needs to like know that it died. It needs to know. I need to hammer this home. I am that gif of the freaking dude beating a dead horse right now. That is me. It needs to die.
Yeah.
It needs to die more. It needs the hippity hoppity get off my property.
No. Oh God damn it.
See, this is the beauty of having a camera. Now you can see his reactions, how stupid I am. There's proof now.
It's one of those things like Tex said it and it was funny at the time because Tex was the one who said it and it was like, okay, this is funny, and then
now other people say it.
And then it's just like, oh boy.
And some of the Texisms end up in a book and it's not funny anymore.
No, it's not. It is not. But yeah, that's cool. So that's basically the long and short of it. I mean, we wanted to, do an episode to break in the camera. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it looks good. I mean, granted, we haven't seen the footage yet. So
no, we haven't.
When Dan edits it, hopefully it won't look like
Dan
crap.
edits it. Hopefully.
Please fucking edit. please just cut it like you're supposed to. But yeah, we wanted to reapproach the BV topic and the sort of, what can tournaments bring to the game? What does it mean for new players? How do you build a lance? Because, granted that they didn't have a lot of engagement, but it's the few comments that we got where people were like, yeah, this is weird. Like, why don't they do this? Why don't we have this? Because again, it's not making you guys play how we want to play.
Nope.
It's not making you guys play a specific way. Because you don't have to go to a tournament if you don't want to. I don't want to go to a tournament. People are gross. They suck. They smell. They don't wash their freaking hands.
as shown by the last couple of years of her life.
There might be a dude who shows up with a Shadowhawk covered in swastikas. That happened, by the way. That happened. It was on the Facebook painting customs board. Like, a dude posted a Shadowhawk.
I remember you sending me to that, and I was like, I don't see what's wrong. Like, no, Dan, look. And I was like,
Yeah.
Oh!
Like, there might be that dude who shows up with swastikas, and we're gonna have to tell him to get the fuck out. But the idea that one, having tournaments, having a place to play, having rules that everyone's on the same page, that are fair. And of course, yeah, there may be the dude who cheeses it the first time, but that's okay. Nothing's set in stone. You go back and you fix it. Oh, it turns out, no, you cannot show up with a grab bag of Savannah Masters. Like, we're looking at Lance v. Lance. We're looking at Lance v. Star or something like that. There are things that we can do to make sure stuff doesn't run wild on us. But having something solid that people can sink their teeth into is going to help the game grow. And it's easy. And it doesn't necessarily have to go in a rule book. Just knocked over my coffee cup. Thankfully, it's empty. It doesn't have to go in a rule book just yet. It can be a PDF download. A lot of people, I mean, at this point in time, it's not like it was 20 years ago, where people don't always have consistent access to the internet. You know, pretty much anyone who's playing the game probably has a way to get it, or has someone that can go a way to get those rules. It can be a PDF on the Battletech website. It can be on Master Unit List. Nick over at Sarna will host it, right?
Absolutely.
It's easy.
I think he has some of the old tournament rules up there, by the way.
Oh, he does? Okay.
I think he does. Don't take my word for it, but there's a lot of old stuff on there if you dig around.
Okay, cool. But yeah, it's something that it's easy to get this stuff out there, and it's easy to make it available. They can host it at a number of different locations. It doesn't have to be a big PDF. It doesn't need to be like the full presentation. I guess that was a problem with the Oakland source book, was the maps where it showed the troop movements was originally like a really bad quality because it would have ballooned the size of the PDF. And they ended up fixing that, I think, and they released it. I don't know if they fixed the typos in Oakland. They probably didn't fix the typos in it, but at least they fixed the images and made it so it wasn't so grainy. It doesn't have to be that big full presentation. It can just be a white background. Don't care. It can be in black and white, can be in grayscale, whatever. But it's easy to do. Yeah.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
It'd be really nice.
Yeah, because I mean, it would be fun to go somewhere else and have someone else punch me in the back of the head instead of Dan with his assassin or his spider and taking out my banshee.
That was a good moment. That was a really good moment.
That was so fucking angry.
That was one of my better moments.
So goddamn mad. So yeah, guys. So yeah, new format, new year. And yeah, so next on the docket, Wars of Reaving. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. You know, maybe we'll have different things in the background.
Yeah.
Like that Battle Master that you framed.
Oh yeah. I could.
Hey, I made a new logo.
Yeah, you did. It looks sharp. So yeah, new logo, new camera, new year, new format,
new me.
So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know if the regularity is going to change at all. We're both pretty busy. It's kind of, we come across things as we do. Do we change layout? I mean, one of the nice things about being here at my place is that it's relatively quiet.
Not my place.
I don't know if we're going to do something like sexy, like a complete black background in a basement where it's just like the light is just like perfectly lighting our faces.
We can have my collection behind us.
Yeah. So we'll see. Hope you guys like it. Hopefully you guys. We don't have to agree with me on the battle value thing with me and Dan. It's okay if you don't. It's okay to be wrong. No,
I don't agree with him on a lot of things.
But I hope it makes sense. Yeah, hope it makes sense.
One of the many things that we agree on. It's different when they can see our mannerisms now.
This will be really good for the hour.
Oh my god. Dude, that's gonna be so bad.
Steam.
I'm not cutting this out. I'm not cutting this out.
Steam coming out of my ears.
Add explosion here. Explosion here. Because that's essentially what the book is.
I feel like, what was the Star Trek one when he talks to, when Picard goes to the alien species that only speaks in metaphors?
Oh my gosh.
You know, his face black, his eyes red.